Chapter 11, Forgiveness. All of us have made mistakes, and all of us have made errors of judgment. All of us have hurt one another, and at one time or another, all of us have behaved less than admirably, sometimes with painful consequences. One thing we all need is forgiveness. One of the stumbling blocks that gets in the way of self-love or self-compassion for some people is not being able to forgive themselves. How can I love myself when I did that? Is the common sentiment. This is where self-forgiveness comes in. You're not alone if you have regrets. Everyone has them. Some people have major regrets and some people have minor ones, but the important thing to know is that everyone has them. For our own health and sanity, it's important to be able to move past these blocks, and for a start, forgiveness, like self-compassion, is extremely healthy. Research has shown that forgiveness, either of ourselves or others, is good for the heart. It actually widens our arteries and increases blood flow to the heart. It also reduces blood pressure and heart rate. It improves coronary function in people who have had a heart attack, and it improves the immune system. People who learn to forgive are less likely to feel depressed, angry, resentful, hurt, stressed, anxious, or have a need for revenge. On the whole, forgiveness is a very healthy and needed thing. Self-love gym. Reflect on some of the ways in which forgiveness is good for your health. Some people find it useful to draw this as a picture. For example, you might draw your heart with a smiley face on it in a picture of yourself, looking relaxed and at peace. Is judging yourself for past mistakes doing you any good? If not, why not? For example, is it affecting your health, mental or physical? Think about this. Is it holding you back in life? How could your life be better if you let go of thinking about yourself in this way? Write a positive statement or an affirmation that will help you whenever the old way of thinking pops into your mind again. You might use something like, I choose to let this go, and in doing so, I set myself free. Now work on some self-compassion. Reflect on how everyone makes mistakes, makes errors of judgment, hurts people, loses sight of themselves from time to time. Reflect on the fact that we are only human. And now consider what your inner Buddha would say to you about the issue. If you were helping a loved one to forgive and they had the issue, what would you say to them and how would you say it? Atonement. This isn't always necessary, but do it if it feels important to you. If you have hurt or offended someone in the past, is there a way that you can make amends now? Could you apologize? Or could you act in some other way to balance things out? For instance, if you once hurt an ex-partner by having an affair, could you make a donation to a charity that supports people in distress? The self-forgiveness process can be done as often as you feel it necessary until the issue is sufficiently resolved. Many people like to do it weekly on the same issue for 4 to 6 weeks. Others like to do it daily over 4 consecutive days. The thing with forgiveness is that it's a process that shouldn't be rushed. It's not about looking for that magic bullet, that single thought that releases all the pain from the past. Okay, that sometimes happens, but for most people, most of the time, revisiting an issue repetitively is the most powerful way of finding some peace. Let's say you hurt someone's feelings once and then you regret it. Say it was a spouse, family member, or a close friend, as these are the most common people that we hurt. Did you really mean to hurt that person, or were you just overwhelmed or confused? Ask yourself, what was the intention? Get past the surface stuff or what you were thinking at the time, even if you were angry and wanted to hurt that person. Imagine standing there as an observer and looking at your own face. Does your face look angry? What's underneath the anger? Hurt, perhaps? Pain? Look even closer. What's underneath that? Fear? Fear of not being loved? Fear of loss of connection or belonging? Ask yourself again, what was my intention? Did I want to hurt the other person? Or did I want them to understand my pain or my fear? No one really wants to hurt someone else, with a few exceptions. That's why we feel so bad afterwards, why we feel regret. It's actually our love for a person that often causes us to lash out. Perhaps we love someone, but fear that they will stop loving us back. How many times have you uttered the words, I didn't mean to hurt you? and I bet you really didn't. So this is a useful exercise in self-compassion and self-forgiveness because it helps to remind you that it's usually fear that motivates hurtful words or behaviour, and underneath the fear lies love. This doesn't change what happened, but it allows you to be a little more sensitive towards your own pain or regret. Forgiving others is a natural side effect of self-love. It's always why some people resist self-love work. I don't want to start feeling compassion for people who deserve what they get. I'm not letting them off the hook. Forgiveness isn't about saying that someone's behaviour was acceptable. It's simply a choice to let go of the past so that we can move on with our future. Holding on to anger about someone is also quite unhealthy, and the benefits of forgiveness are many, especially for the heart and emotions. Here's the process for forgiving others. You'll notice that it's very similar to the self-forgiveness process. Reflect on how and why forgiveness is good for your health. Ask yourself if it's doing you any good to hold on to the past. If not, why not? What have been some of the consequences of holding on to a past hurt or grievance? Write down how forgiveness will positively affect your future. Write down a positive statement or an affirmation to say to yourself next time a thought about for when the issue comes up. You might use something like, I choose to let this go, and in doing so, I set myself free. Many people tell others about their past, especially when they meet new people. If this is you and your past is full of old grievances, write down a different way of talking about the past that reflects your intent to move forward and ahead in a positive way. Then you will have it ready for the next time you meet someone new. Build empathy. Reflect on the fact that you've also hurt people in the past. Remind yourself that we are all human. Find a little understanding for the person who hurt you, no matter how difficult that might be. This isn't about letting them off scot-free. It's just so that you can find a little bit more peace in yourself. Write down some of the benefits of what happened to you. For instance, if your partner had an affair in the past, you might reflect on the fact that you have a new partner, children, and great friends that you might never have had if you stayed with that person. The purpose of this step is to change your perception of the past, like the self-forgiveness process. This is also a process that shouldn't be rushed. You can do it daily or weekly until you feel the issue has been resolved to a sufficient degree. In summary, with both forgiveness and self-forgiveness of others, we can get to a place where we can see the benefit of forgiveness in our life. We can even go further and come to understand, for instance, that there is nothing to forgive, that everything happens as it's meant to, or that everything and everyone is an expression of love or God, and that mistakes are simply growth. We might even find comfort in the idea that souls agree to hurt or offend each other so that we can all grow through the experience. However we view it, what's important here is that forgiveness, whether of ourselves or another person, dissolves blocks to growth, and in so doing paves the way to self-love.